Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Bob. How's it going?
Bob and I are here today to talk about the 2026 Head Core 94 Ti. Pretty exciting conversation that we're about to have. I think this is only the second time that we've really talked about new cores, at least in a formal setting.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because we've really done due diligence on like the Solomon QST line, which is all new for this year.
Yeah.
And you could make an argument that the core line is vastly different from the series it replaces versus
QSTs were just more of an evolution of... Yeah.
So I think we have our work cut out for us in the core world, which...
Totally, going forward.
Yeah, I'm happy about it.
I agree. It's a great place to be.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different skis, and they're all quite good.
Yep.
So yeah, the prospect of having to do more reviewing of head cores is quite exciting.
It sure is.
And you know, I'm glad you brought up QSTs because that's a very important line of skis. A lot of people ski them. They're very popular and they're very useful for a lot of skiers. And I think you can say the same thing about this new core line. If anything, like the previous line, that Core 93 that you're standing next to, that was like more polarizing, and you and I were always a perfect example of that, where you loved it and I didn't.
Yeah, and like one of the main moves here is that these older cores were a little bit fringe, because of that polarizing nature.
Exactly.
So, yeah, while that certain set of skiers really enjoyed that, maybe that's too small of a subset within Core's company structure.
Yeah.
So, or Head's company structure, I should say.
We knew it. We understood. Yeah. The audience and I collectively, we got you. So yeah, we did back in, it was sometime during the ski season, we did an article and a video kind of introducing the whole new core line. I think just focused on the men's skis, if I recall. Yeah. So there is a women's line too that's white, and the construction is a little bit different. And I actually skied the 104.
Yeah, me too. I really like that thing.
Love that thing. So I think we actually mentioned it in that first video that we did, but there's definitely going to be an opportunity to cross over gender lines. I don't really know the politically correct way to say what I'm trying to say. Well, you can choose whichever color you want, depending on which one works better for you.
They called this the unisex line. Right. And the white, the women's.
Yeah, but like that doesn't feel fair.
I know.
So like, I skied a white one and I really liked it.
Right.
Don't tell me through your labeling that I'm not allowed to ski it.
Whereas this older generation was
the
unisex,
same. Yeah, then you could literally just go up and choose width.
Right.
And get the same performance.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. You know what we should do, Bob?
I don't know. The list is long. What do you have in mind?
We should do an on-snow review where we take like 104 and 106 and go back and forth. Like the closest width, it kind of, could do it in all sorts of different ones. Yeah. But take some close width black cores and white cores and do some on-snow testing.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be really fun.
I'm in.
So anyways, this is the 94. We picked this one to start with for an in-depth individual review because it kind of feels like the flagship core. And to me, that's because the Core 93 was always like one of the first ones.
It certainly always, this one had more traction than the 99.
Exactly, or the 87.
Yeah, but I think you could make an argument that the new 100, because it's
is the new
flagship. I think based on previous
fair
head core generation skis, I think this is a stronger argument, but maybe moving forward, I don't know.
So you're fine with my logic, you're just questioning it slightly.
I think we're splitting hairs. We're right in the middle.
Okay. Anyways, this is the Core 94 Ti. This is what we're going to talk about today, regardless of whether that's the correct decision or not. Do you want to take us through construction? Because that's really important and obviously like the biggest change to these skis.
Yeah, they could have called them something else as different as they are in terms of construction. Yeah. They're as diametrically opposed build-wise as you're going to find in skis with the same name.
Yeah.
So they are built with a blend of Caruba and beech in the wood core. So they're now adding beech to the core, which is a denser wood. These also used Caruba, but with some poplar in there as well. We do not now have any more carbon in this ski. They are done with the carbon laminates found in the older core skis. Instead, we get 2 sheets of metal, which is something we've never been able to say in discussing head core skis. So those 2 sheets of metal, as well as the wood core, go up to where I don't think it comes through on camera very well, but where the black starts in the tips here. And from that point, there's a full layer of graphene as well, and that continues through, but the wood and the metal stop kind of right at the tip and the tail of the ski. They also have a layer of flax on top, which melds into this top sheet here, and that continues tip to tail as well. So just a slight shortening of wood and metal in the ski, leaving the tips and tails a little bit lighter in the swing weight and just increases mobility overall. So pretty interesting how they're going about that. So we do see the return of graphene in these skis, and that's really the only thing that carries forward into
beyond
2026.
That, it's a pretty wholesale change.
Yeah. And Head's always been pretty creative with their top sheets. I don't know if you remember like the first cores that came through.
They didn't have a top sheet.
It was just like the top of the ski.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they suffered some peeling and chipping.
Chipped a lot.
Yeah, we had a hard time selling our demos because they were just
destroyed,
peeled off. Yeah. So they've
they learned quickly.
And now this flax layer in the top is supposed to help increase that durability as well. So yeah, that's it for ingredients. They do feel a lot more substantial than the older cores. They aren't like that much heavier. So this one's just under 2,000 grams.
That's a long one, right?
This is a 184, so same as this, which I just looked up in our previous test, and it was like 1,800.
That Core 93 also in a 184?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
we're
we're
about 200 grams heavier.
Yeah, which is substantial.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's necessarily accurate to put them in the categorization of these are lightweight skis anymore.
No, it was always the blend of lightweight and stiff flex that set that Core 93 apart. So now we're getting a more consistent and predictable mix of flex and weight.
Yeah.
So a lot of skis that have this kind of approaching 2,000 gram mark with this flex, which is still not soft.
No, it's still quite stiff. It is it is different.
Yeah.
There's something different about it, more than, it's like it's softer, but it's not as springy.
Right.
Like flexing a brand new Core 93, would make me nervous. Or uncomfortably. Be like, if this slips out of my hand, it's gonna just the edge might cut my arm or something.
Yeah.
Or it just didn't.
And these are on kind of the
those are on day
clapped out side of the spectrum,
so that's not fair.
Yeah. And actually, this is one of the reasons I think why they're moving into this is because there was
retain more consistent flex
more
and
consistent
performance
throughout.
Yeah, so a couple 100 grams heavier and a little bit softer.
Yeah, but more than that, it's how that flex responds to your input. That's the biggest difference, and we can certainly get into this with performance. But
I'm ready. Let's do it.
The feel of the ski is so different.
Let's do it right now. What are we waiting for?
You want to skip over shape and profile?
Oh no, we should probably do that. So, thanks, Bob, for taking us through construction there. One thing that you could do for me is put your Core 93 together.
Old Core,
yeah. Because really, the shapes aren't profoundly different. How much camber you got there?
Well, not much in my old ski, but I do have a lot more in the new ski. So, you have a lot more than I have.
Well, you flattened yours a little bit.
Yeah.
Your cores, but that's a big thing that still exists in cores is really high camber height, and if anything, this is probably a little bit higher than a brand new Core 93.
I think so.
And it's kind of nice. Like, I feel like if this amount of camber had been in that build and flex, it would have, like, you would have just been like getting bounced off the snow all the time.
Yeah, something's got to give in that situation.
Right.
So, yeah.
But, you know, a little bit different in the camber profile. Tip rock has got to be about the same.
It looks exactly the same to me.
Even like tip taper shape is about the same.
There's such minimal differences between. I mean, you can't see. Usually, you can see
either one
ski or the other.
No, it's pretty identical.
Yeah.
And then flip them over. Probably about the same in the tail too.
Rocker wise,
like a little bit more taper.
Probably a little bit more rocker.
It's just like tiny, a little bit pointier.
Yeah.
And then I have a 16.3 meter turn radius over here. What do you have?
17.9 in the new one.
The old one's 17.7.
Yeah, there's 17.7. So
yeah. So shapes are pretty similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could have just skipped over that and gone straight to performance. But I think that's the big thing, like a little bit more camber because it's a softer flex and it's got more of a damp feel to it rather than like super, super springy and really rigid.
Yep.
Now you want to talk about performance?
Love to.
All right, so we'll split this into on-piste and off-piste as we normally do. Bob skied it more off-piste than I did, so we might lean into your experience there. But as far as on-piste, we can both share our thoughts. And what do you think? I think the days that you were on it were pretty soft, like nice packed powder groomers, almost like some fresh snow on them too.
Almost too soft, it feels. You know, I think that for groomer performance, you do have to lean into the width here and say, okay, I'm in the mid-90s. I can stand on this thing and let it run through softer groomers. And it doesn't feel like you're overpowering it. And I was on year 177 there.
Overpowering it?
A little bit.
Yeah,
you know, like you can feel the shovels start to give at a certain speed, but I don't think that would happen as much on firmer groomers.
Or on a 184.
Or on a 184. So what you're getting out of it, I found, is just way more smoothness. So this thing is just packed full of electricity and energy. And it's not so much the case with the new 94. The new 94 is a lot more rolling and strolling, and you can still get nice damp power out of it, but the rebound phase is nowhere near what you would get from a carbon powered ski.
Thank God.
I mean, I miss it, but I also understand what the point is of the new one.
Yeah. I mean, I feel drastically different on a Core 94 Ti than I did on a Core 93.
Yeah. They feel like so different.
So different. I mean, I really enjoy skiing this on a groomer and making carving turns on it. And I've said it several times before. I never really liked doing that on previous cores because I had to work so hard to bend them that then I got like shot out of the turn. Yeah. And often when I wasn't expecting it because the ski just snaps back when the ski is ready to snap back. It doesn't really matter if that's the end of your turn or not.
Right.
Like, at least that always happened to me at like kind of a lighter weight. These are fantastic. They're really, really easy to bend and kind of like, it's just more consistent and smoother.
And predictable.
And predictable, yeah. Exactly. So I found I could, start getting higher edge angles, start really like trying to gas pedal it, start like really skiing it, where on the Core 93, I was always just so hesitant and timid to give it my all that I never did. I just kind of like let it go and cruised around.
Yeah.
I used to feel a little more comfy on the 99, giving it a little more power. The 93 just always felt like too fidgety to me. So I really like this ski. Before we started filming, I said something like, I think it's like an Enforcer 94, but less. And I do think that's a good way to think about it. And it's like what you lose, I don't know if lose is the right word. Like the Enforcer 94 is stiffer and more powerful, but it comes along with like, it can be harsh and like kind of punishing at times. you lose a little bit of the raw power in this ski, but this ski never feels harsh or punishing, which I think is really nice, and I think a lot of skiers could enjoy that. I did find like a slight lack of precision right here. Did you?
I did. I felt like this ski started to come alive.
Yeah.
You know, mid from the front third back.
Yeah, and you can like, it's not surprising given the shape here.
Yeah. Well, it's also if you have expectations of
that,
which is more than happy to start your turn for you.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of skis in this category, like, you know, this isn't far off in width from like an M7 Mantra.
Yeah.
And that ski, you tip it on edge and it's just like, like
gone.
Rips you into a turn. This ski, you tip it on edge and this tip is just kind of like, you know, it's kind of just like waffling around a little bit. But once you do engage it, it's really, really good. And it's not like, I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just a personal preference of whether you want the ski to feel like it's trying to do something, or whether you want to be the one in charge of when you do something.
Yeah.
This is more of one of those skis where you have to tell it what to do. You can't just tip it on edge and ride it.
Yeah.
That was my big thing. I still think it makes like you, I mean, I'm going to speak for you slightly, but not really. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you always liked the Core 93 and its ability to make short turns.
Yeah, I mean, because it has a somewhat shorter radius as already.
And like, I mean, kind of like skidded side of trail turns.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you had to do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, I feel like this one, you can manipulate it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And not get thrust out of the turn.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoyed the energy here with short skidded turns.
Yeah.
But it also, it's not as consistent. You know, like you really had to find the balance point.
Yeah.
You had to find that middle section of the ski, or else if you were a hair forward or a hair back, the ski would certainly let you know.
So I was going to say, I feel like this does it just as well. Do you feel like it does it better?
I think it does it better.
Yeah.
Because it is slightly more forgiving
and
just more predictable and consistent. You don't have to be 100% balanced all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, big takeaways for on-trail performance for this new ski is smoother, less rebound, but more predictability, and a little bit more of just like a traditional feel, you know, like just solid and confidence inspiring.
I think every once in a while you'd get a new skier on a Core 93 that was like, yes, 100% yes.
Right.
But I think that you're going to get way more skiers on this.
Yeah, that just get on it right away, and they're like, yep.
Yeah, way more intuitive.
Yeah, yeah. You want to talk about off-piste?
Yeah, I think that's where the bigger differences lie, personally.
We had one day on this when I was skiing it, and the snow was pretty good, and we skied some off-piste stuff, and that was right in the middle of just lingering knee issues for me this season. I don't know if I'll put it in right now. Maybe if you're lucky when I'm editing, I'll put it in at the end of the video if people want to see what I was going through this season. So there's a limit to how much I skied it off-piste, but I did, and I really like it. I mean, I've always thought that this shape works really well. Yep. Like some taper, a decent amount of rocker, but not too much. It feels smooth. And again, like predictable. It doesn't catch and then react to soft snow when you don't expect it to. I skied it that like skier's right side of hayride that we often ski, and you know, jumping off of something and throwing it sideways, and it did all that stuff quite well for a 94 underfoot directional ski for me. Like, this isn't what I choose to spend my time on, especially if I'm skiing off-piste terrain.
Sure.
But I had fun on it.
Yeah, I found the biggest improvement was in bumps and trees. And you could like
because it's more predictable.
Yeah, you could like this old Core because it was light and maneuverable, and you can put it wherever you want.
Yeah.
But there's certainly something to be said for having that predictability that you just mentioned, kind of at the forefront of that discussion.
Now, you skied some like pretty tight trees that we have footage of. Did you feel like you lost quickness?
The loss of quickness due to weight is increased in predictability.
Yeah.
So
it's a net even.
Yeah, it's a net even. The big improvement here with the Core 94 Ti is when you're dealing with different snow types. So in consistent snow, Core 93 is fine.
Yeah.
But as soon as adversity sets in, here in Vermont, we tend to get some firm snow under our soft snow.
Yeah, because like on the Core 93, it was like you had to relearn it every time the snow changed.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're making a turn in the bumps or the trees and it's soft on top and then firm at the bottom, you're going to get deflection out of a carbon-powered ski. Whereas when you have metal in the mix, it makes it a lot smoother. So when you're mixing soft and firm snow underneath, the new Core 94 Ti works incredibly well at kind of balancing out, either side of that equation.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a huge benefit there. Even when it's tight, it's not like these are that heavy. They're lighter swing weight. They're a forgiving enough flex that you can move them around. You do have to push against the camber a little bit, so that's kind of a little bit of a drawback there, that it's not as smeary or drifty as some other skis.
You just have to be like more engaged.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been intended to be smeary or drifty.
No, and it's not, but it is intended to be versatile.
Yeah.
So it does have to go between those tighter and more technical zones and those firmer groomers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for moguls, it's a big improvement because you still get enough flex to push in, and then nice support out of the back, and still relatively quick, but nice and balanced throughout. So I felt like there was that carbon was so specific that if you were a centimeter off on your turn and you hit slightly the wrong bump of snow, then the ski could pop and cross and all sorts of bad stuff.
Well, and it always kind of worked because like how quick it deflected the old ski, you could get it back just as quick because it was so light. So like it was just always kind of like dancing and moving around, and you just kind of like went with it and we're like, okay, this is fine.
Sure.
Where this just stays like, it stays much more consistent and like tracks better.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah. It allows you to flex in the troughs of the bumps.
Yeah.
Whether you're like, we get a lot of bumps in our trees here.
Yeah.
So whether you're in that or just a straight up mogul field, the ski can actually stay on the snow the whole time, whereas this one's fighting against you.
I want to ask you about comparisons. I can't quite think of the first one that I want to make off the top of my head, but as we've done this more often lately, like end these videos with a comparison segment, the first thing I want to say is our comparison series is not too far away. We'll be getting into 2026 ski comparison videos in about 2 months. The Core 93, or really any previous Core, if we were organizing in like Slarvy to Carvy, or like light to stiff, or like lightweight to heavy, or soft to stiff, like that ski very often found itself on one side of the wall or the other.
Yes.
Do you now think, as like kind of a reflection of what this ski has become, that regardless of how we organize our mid-90 men's all-mountain ski comparison, this one's going to be in the middle?
It'll be close to the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like completely different in how it sits in the market.
Yeah.
Completely different.
And that's a great point. And then, to that, in terms of comparisons, we never had...
There's nothing.
There was nothing. So like, we're going to have a lot more kind of ammunition to go with in terms of comparing with Core 94 Ti.
Yeah, softer Enforcer 94. I can't really think of something better than that for comparison.
I mean, we mentioned the QSTs. The QST 94, I think, is a pretty fair comparison in terms of...
It's like a damper QST 94.
Yeah, and they're kind of meant
Not
to
as
do the
much
same
rocker.
things.
Yeah.
Not as, it's more traditional and directional than a QST 94.
And that ski's like wild with its like shorter... I don't know. I'm struggling to get get behind the QST94 comparison.
I know.
I understand where you're going with that, but it just has a different vibe to me.
Yeah.
Like the QST94, I like wanted to go in the park and like do tricks. I don't want to do that.
Not on the Core 94 Ti?
No, and like it's just, I don't know what that is. It's just like deep down inside, those are feelings that I have.
What about like a Kesley Paragon 93?
Yeah, pretty darn good there. That ski's a little more like precise, don't you think?
Yeah, especially in the tail.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot more kind of zest out of the back end of that ski there.
But yeah, I mean, it's like that similar shape. That's kind of why the Enforcer 94 popped into my mind. And like we've always talked about cores and Enforcers together because they've always had very similar shapes, but they've been so different. Now they're definitely closer.
How about like an Armada Declivity 92?
I was just going to say that. Yeah, it has some pretty... It's like what, right over there?
Oh, no, I moved it. I moved it already.
It's got some pretty serious declivity notes or vibes.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because I think like basically anybody who's ever skied an Armada declivity comes away and they're like, this is great.
Right.
I didn't expect that from Armada. Like, boy, heard that before.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any others off the top of my head. There's too many skis out there. Serpo, it's got a little bit of just in terms of like versatility. Great on groomers, but you can take it off trail too, and you'll do just fine.
I would slot it somewhere between, you had mentioned the Vocal Mantra, somewhere between the Blaze 94 and the Mantra M7.
Yeah, if somehow you could like average out those two skis, you'd probably get a Core 94 Ti.
Yeah. Yeah. Something like that, I think. Yeah. And I just think that the intent here was to the middle.
Yeah.
Was to more average and try to get more people to buy their skis, frankly.
Yeah. Speaking about buying skis, people apparently care more about graphics than I ever thought. What do you think? Do people like these graphics?
I think that people don't like the lack of effort or creativity that goes into these graphics, and I can see that point, but I also enjoy a somewhat muted and earthy tone look to skis.
I believe there is an attack that will color match every number.
Yes.
So each core, like the only difference in their graphics is the color of this number and the head logo.
What about the base?
Thanks, and the base. But aside from that, they're like all black.
Yeah.
And you can start here and spice things up with an attack binding pretty nicely if you want to have a brighter setup. So kind of cool that they did that.
I think this is a pretty cool looking ski, and they alter the, one sidewall's yellow, one sidewall's black.
Well, they definitely pulled the color out of these skis, which just kind of was curious your take on that. I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it. I think the white ones look better.
I do too. White ones are sweet.
Yeah, I wish they made them in one more length up.
Oh, you could call ahead and ask what their minimums are for an order.
Sure. Place my own order.
Yeah, I bet you could order 100 pairs of core. Which one do you want? 100?
Yeah, well, that would be the 99 in the white, but yeah.
Sure.
I'll take the 100 in the white and the 184.
Yeah. Would you go 100 over 94, or do you want a 94 to replace your 93s and then get a white graphic on it?
I really like the 100.
Do you think Head's going to be upset that we like the white graphics so much?
No, they didn't ask us before they made them.
They didn't ask us after they made them either, so I don't think they care that much. So yeah, that's all I got. Like Bob said, we definitely have a lot more to do on these, and I'm really excited about that. We have this pair. What else do we have? We have an 88.
Yep.
And we have a 100. They're all in 177s.
Yeah.
I think.
For the demos.
The demos. So that works well for me. We should try and get our hands on some longer ones for you.
We have the longer 106, I think.
We should have them like in our demo fleet, just in our brick and mortar shop up the road, come ski season. So we'll definitely be doing some on snow reviews of new cores as soon as we get back on snow.
Sounds good.
In the meantime, let us know if you have any questions, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Saturday. To meet up with you and film.
Oh, that's fine. I took like 8 runs on Saturday.
It was amazing. Did you see that clip I sent you last night?
I like kind of watched it on my phone in the car.
The lighting is crazy.
There's a lot of people that just came. Yeah, I noticed that. Maybe more people like nose pass and less mine.
Today, because it's green.
You want to go bypass?
The bumps are huge in it.
Yeah, I'll go slow.
They're so big.
I will go slow.
It just snows and stuff. You okay?
Oh my God. That's so weird.
Not bumps.
We barely did anything.